All right, you ready to proceed with your cross-examination?
I am,
Your Honor, I have one question.
Yes.
I'd like to ask her, but I forgot.
Okay, go ahead.
Rhonda, why aren't you wearing your AFO now?
It doesn't fit anymore. I have excessive swelling in my ankle, and it just doesn't fit properly.
Okay. Thank you. That's all right.
Okay.
if it please the court.
Yes.
Good morning, Ms. Harris. How are you? The record in this case shows you had your initial therapy evaluation at the St. Mary Medical Center on October 13, 2008. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I think that's what you told Mr. Short. What do you remember about that initial evaluation?
I remember I went in my wheelchair. I was taken to a low bed, for an evaluation. There was a man that evaluated me, a therapist, but he was not going to be there for very long. He was going on to get his doctorate or whatever. So he saw me for maybe 2 weeks. I don't recall his name. He did some stretches, some evaluations of my strength, and I had a lot of pain at the time. So he did very minimal evaluations on the movement of my foot, and basically got my history and my medical history of the surgery and the therapy that they were doing at MD Anderson. And I believe they put the TENS unit on my back with heat, and I think that was about the extent of that visit.
Okay. But you were told by the receptionist at that visit that you were coming in your future appointments, you would sign in and the therapist would come in. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And at that point in time, you're coming in a wheelchair. Is that right?
Yes.
And Mr. Servant asked you if you were driving, and I think you said no, correct?
I
When in fact you never did drive the therapy at any time you were going to St. Mary Medical Center. Is that right?
That's correct.
So we know you weren't walking laps on the instruction of any therapist at the beginning because you weren't walking. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir. Well, I was ambulating with my walker, but very limited at home from the bed to the couch. But when I went to therapy, I would go in the wheelchair and we would do some exercises with the walker.
Now, you were going to therapy initially 3 times a week. Is that right?
Yes,
As the year progressed, you improved.
very much so.
You became more mobile.
Yes.
At some point, you progressed from a walker to a cane. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that during the period of time that you were gait training in therapy, when you were walking in therapy, you typically had a gait bump?
Yes, sir.
And when you were gait training in the clinic, you typically had a therapist walking with you. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
Now, as I understand your testimony, there was a period of time somewhere where this kind of transition and you started doing these laps yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, but very much towards the end.
It was very much towards the end?
Yes, sir.
How much towards the end?
I would say 3 months of the way into my therapy, maybe 7, 8, 9 months, something like that.
So you were about 8 or 9 months into therapy?
Yes, sir.
And it's at that point that you were starting to walk laps by yourself because you were more mobile?
Yes, sir.
Or you were being sent out to use a bicycle type device, is that correct?
Correct.
And is it your testimony that Tracy Goen was the first person to have you do that?
The bicycle?
The walking laps by yourself?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it's your testimony that the other person who told you to do that was Andrew Kinder, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And can we agree that there was, it's your testimony that no other therapist ever told you to do that, correct?
That's correct.
How much before you fell was it that you began to use the cane?
Maybe 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks? Have you not previously told me it was only 2 weeks?
I don't believe so.
Did I take your deposition, ma'am, on July 8, 2013?
Yes, you did.
And there was a court reporter present at that time, was there not?
Yes, sir.
You were placed under oath, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
I asked you a series of questions and you gave me a series of answers.
Yes, sir.
You remember us too.
I do, sir.
Counsel, this is at page 102. Now, I guess I'll start at line 4. Ma'am, did I ask you these questions and did you give me these answers? Question. When you started using the bike or the track by yourself, were you then typically using a cane to get around? Answer, either a walker or a cane. I progressed to a cane probably a couple of weeks before I fell. Did I ask you that question and did you give me that answer?
If it's in there, I guess I did.
So that's different testimony than saying you were on a cane 6 or so weeks before. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Your answer is changed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's look at what the record says. Can you go on tab 7, page 114, please?
Your Honor, could you please add the defendant's
Oh, sure.
Tab 7, page 114. Ma'am, I'm showing you the therapy note by Tracy Cohen dated June 3, 2009. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
And it states, among other things, ambulating with large base quad cane, below that 125 feet SBA, 95 feet SBA. Do you see that?
Yes.
You were using a quad base cane as early as June of 2009, weren't you?
I was using it very limited, I guess, and I do remember practicing that therapy, but I didn't use it independently.
Ma'am, you agree with me that it's not accurate to say you only started using the cane a couple of weeks before you fell, based on that record, wouldn't you?
Yes, sir.
And I believe you for testimony that SBA stands for Standby Assistance, that there was somebody with you. So you were using a cane at that time with the therapist with you, is that correct?
Yes, practicing.
Let's look at tab 7, page 117. Do you have that page in front of you, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now that's the therapy note by Tracy Cohen dated 6/8/2009. That also reflects you were using a large quad cane for ambulation, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
That also reflects you had standby assistance, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Let's look at the therapy note at 6/10/09, page 118. Would you agree that that note also reflects that you were using a large base quad cane?
Yes, sir.
with standby assistance.
Yes.
So as early as June of 2009, it looks from the record that you were regularly using a cane. Isn't that true?
With assistance.
With assistance.
Yes, I was
Okay.
learning to use the cane. I guess when you asked me, I thought you meant, was I using the cane completely independently without any other devices?
You know how many times you walked the track alone without supervision before you fell?
No, sir.
But it's your testimony today that you've been walking the track for a few months that way? Is that what I understand?
Yes, sir.
When you walked the track before the accident, that rug was always located at the door, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
There was also another rug in the treatment area, was there not?
Yes, sir.
And you had to negotiate that rug when you walked laps in the treatment area as well, isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
You knew that rug was there, correct?
I did.
So when you were walking these laps by yourself on the treatment area, you had 2 rugs to negotiate in order to make a lap, is that right?
I did.
And if you made more than 1 lap, you had to negotiate those rugs multiple times, isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
Now, ma'am, as I understand your testimony, you're telling the jury that you complained to Tracy Dillon about that rug, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's your testimony, is it not? You complained to Tracy about that rug almost every time you saw it. Is
Yes.
that true?
It was not this rug, but it was the rug that was placed at the other end of the gym that had only a corner, maybe 2 feet of the corner of the rug. So when I would walk over that, my walker would get caught on that rug when I was learning to walk with a walker. And so I would complain. I would have them puff. It wasn't like I wrote a formal complaint about it. I would just complain, say, this rug shouldn't be here. It's hard to walk over. Why is this rug here?
Now, are you telling this jury, ma'am, that the rug you were complaining about was the other rug and not the rug at the front door?
Oh, no,
that
I
you fell
complained
over?
about both of them, but the rug that I felt like was harder to negotiate was at the other end of the gymnasium.
Are you telling this jury that the nature of your complaint was just simply a puff and puff? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much just the normal complaint that you would, this is really hard to do, or this makes it very difficult.
Let me direct your attention, counsel, to page 105 of the deposition. Ma'am, again, I'm referring to your deposition from July 8th of 2013, starting at page 125. Did I ask you these questions, and did you give me these answers? Question: did you ever say anything to your therapist about the presence of those rugs on the floor? Answer: yes, sir. Question: you did. Tell me, did you complain about it? Answer: yes, sir. Question: okay, tell me when you first complained about the rugs. Answer: I don't recall when I first complained about the rugs. I know that my therapist, Tracy, was. Let me back up. Tracy was my therapist at the time, and I complained about the rugs every time I went over the rugs. And so she complained to someone above her. I don't know who. Did I ask you those questions, and did you give me those answers?
Yes, sir.
Did I ask you these questions, continuing on page 106 and 118? So you complained to Tracy that the rugs were there. Answer: every day. Question: do you consider them to be a hazard? Answer: yes, sir. Question: and you told Tracy that? Answer: yes, sir. When you negotiated the rugs prior to your fall, did you ever have any problems with them beforehand? I'll get into that in a minute. Did I ask you those questions, and did you give me those answers?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree with me, ma'am, that based upon those answers, you previously testified that you did more than just puff and puff about the rugs?
I pretty much said every time I walked over the rugs, I complained about them.
You thought they were a hazard to your safety, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you heard Amber Kimber deny that you complained of the rugs, is that correct? Yesterday when she testified, did you hear her say that?
That I complained to her?
That you did not complain to her about the rugs.
I don't remember that.
Okay?
Being said yesterday,
I
but-
expect Tracy going to testify today that you never complained to her about the rugs. Do you dispute that?
I do dispute that.
Can we agree that you never complained to anybody else at St. Mary Medical Center about the rugs?
No, I did not.
Is it your testimony today, ma'am, that prior to your fall on October 1 of 2009, you had occasions where the leg of your walker or your cane would get caught up in the rug?
Yes, sir.
So that was something you had experienced prior to your fall on October 1, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did this happen more than once?
I don't remember.
But as a result of that experience, you considered the rugs to be a hazard, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You were afraid that you might fall over the rug. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
And yet, on the October 1, 2009, you were out there walking laps by yourself voluntarily over that rug, weren't you?
Yes.
Despite the fear that you had?
Yes, sir.
Despite the fact that you had identified that rug beforehand as a hazard to your safety. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Do you think that was reasonable?
Yes. Being how well I had progressed, I had negotiated the difficulty of those rugs before, and I had done so well in walking the track that I would do several laps at the beginning and at the end of my therapy.
So which is it? Were you afraid of the rug, or were you doing so well that you weren't afraid of the rug?
Well, you always have fears, regardless of what your activity is. You can still have fear of it.
Now, you were walking laps at the time you fell in a counterclockwise fashion. Is that right?
Yes.
When you walked up to the rug on the first lap, why didn't you just stop and look at it to see if it was okay?
I can tell you why. Because you continue on walking and do your whole lap.
This was a rug that you were afraid of, and it didn't occur to you to stop at the rug and look to make sure it was safe.
I walked over it many times before.
When you walked up to the rug, why didn't you simply just stop, turn around, and go back the other direction?
Because that wasn't the normal path of how we did our laps.
Was there anything to keep you from doing it?
I don't understand the question.
Was there anything to keep you from simply stopping short of the rug and going the other way to get some walking time?
I guess there wasn't anything except for the fact that that was always our routine, is we walked the laps continually around until we had made 2 laps.
Now, ma'am, since you thought this rug was so dangerous, since you had complained about this rug on so many times, why didn't you just simply tell your therapist, I'm not comfortable doing this. I don't feel safe. I'll wait till you get out here. Why didn't you do that?
Because I had walked the lap several times prior by myself. Sometimes it would be during the middle of therapy. My therapist would say, do your laps. They would work on the computer, go to another patient, and I would walk my laps. I was very independent at that point in time. I'd been in therapy for almost a year, and I'd worked with these therapists for a very long time, and I was very familiar with the area and the therapy room, the gymnasium, and so I felt comfortable. However, there are fears. When you're walking with any type of device, there are fears of walking over any rug. Today, I fear walking over a rug. However, today I walked over 7 rugs as I walked in here with fear. Your cane, your walker, they catch. You've ever walked with crutches. A rug is horrible to walk over. there's fear. However, I don't think I could go any place, in any store, do any daily activities without walking up the roads.
Mrs. Harris, this page 149 here. Did I ask you this question, and did you give me this answer during your deposition? Question. Given that fear, why didn't you simply tell your therapist, quote, I'm not going to start my therapy until you're here to assist me? Answer, I don't have an answer for that. Just that she said, you know, when you get here, start your laps to ride the bike. Did I ask you that question and did you give me that answer?
Yes, sir.
So when I asked you that question during your deposition, you didn't have these justifications and these rationales for walking over the road despite your fear, did you?
I did say that I walked because I was told to either walk my laps or get on the bike. I did say that.
We can agree, ma'am, can we not, that you never told any of your therapists before the accident, I don't want to do that. I don't want to walk laps by myself. Isn't that true?
That I never told them I didn't want
That
to.
you never told them, I'm not comfortable doing this. I don't want to walk laps without you. You never
No,
told
I
them
never
that,
told
did you?
Yes, sir.
There'd be no reason for you to tell them that if they hadn't instructed you to walk laps in the first place, would they?
That I was afraid of walking?
You wouldn't have to tell them, I don't want to do this, if they hadn't told you to begin with, go walk the laps. If they didn't tell you that, you wouldn't need to tell them, I'm afraid of this, would you?
I guess it's confusing me because, no, I would not have had to tell them I was afraid.
I think we're all in agreement you fell on October 1, 2009, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I think we've agreed with Mr. Serban that you had 93 therapy sessions up to the point where you had Sashi Grombat's evaluation on September 22. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you see that photograph, ma'am, on page 1 of tab 1?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any dispute that when you would come into the clinic, you would come in the front doors?
Am I disputing that?
Pardon?
Am I disputing that?
Yeah, we all agree that that's how you did it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you passed over the rugs shown in that photograph that are farther up near the front door, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So those were other rugs that you had to walk over, is that correct?
Correct.
You didn't complain to anybody about those, did you?
No.
On the date of this accident, you were regularly taking a drug called Lyrica. Is that true?
I took Lyrica from the time I was in the hospital until then, yes.
And that was, you took that for nerve pain, didn't you?
Yes.
So you were still having pain issues on October 1, 2009, weren't you?
Yes.
There'd be no reason to take the Lyrica otherwise, would there?
Correct.
You were also taking a medication called Cymbalta at the time of this fall. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
And one of the reasons you took that was for pain, was it not?
Pain and depression.
Pain and depression. You were taking that for depression on October 1, 2009, correct?
Yes, sir.
Despite the fact that you felt so good about your improvement and where you were going and you thought you could see the end of the tunnel. You were still taking that drug, weren't you, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
And you were taking another drug for depression called Wellbutrin. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
All of that you were taking before you fell, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were taking all those drugs on the day you fell, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now your appointment with Amber was scheduled for 2 o'clock that afternoon, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Work brought you in and dropped you off, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But she didn't come in with you, did she?
No, sir. Not on that day.
Not on that day. Did she go run errands or something like that?
Yes, sir.
When you came in the therapy clinic, no family member, no friend, nobody else came in with you, is that correct?
No,
Nobody else was with you at the time that you fell, is that correct?
that is correct.
You told Mr. Servant that, in regard to that conversation you had with Mr. Brombach about being weaned from therapy and having a family member present, remember that?
Yes, sir.
You told Mr. Servant on direct examination that you thought that just meant you should have a family member present for a few of the sessions so that you won't pay. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to read you what Mr. Brombach testified earlier in this trial.
Okay.
Question. Okay, my question is a little bit more specific than that. It's when you write, quote, a family member shall be present throughout the treatment. What did you specifically mean by that in conveying that in your note? Answer. I meant that I'm recommending that a family member always be present for each session from this eval onwards. That's what he testified. Are you telling this jury he didn't tell you that?
I'm telling you that my understanding of what he told me at that time was that I needed to have a family member there to learn some of the exercises that I would be doing at home. And I mean, Brooke had been to most of my therapy sessions with me, or 50% of them, and we did lots of exercises at home. And she was planning on being at several of the sessions with me, but I did not understand that it was imperative that a family member be with me from that point on throughout my sessions. I don't understand what the need of that would have been.
Okay. Brooke Young testified that when she dropped you off, she pulled the doors open for you sometimes, right?
Yes, sir.
And she'd walk with you at therapy sometimes, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she'd kind of keep an eye on your path to make sure there was nothing for you to trip over. Is that right?
Yes.
If Brooke Young had been with you on October 1, 2009, she would have been able to see that the rug was flipped up and presented a hazard. Is that true?
Objection, Your Honor. It's speculations. You can't speculate real thought.
Well, let me ask this. Is there any reason that you can think of, ma'am, that had Brooke Young been with you just before you fall, she wouldn't have been able to observe a hazard with this rug?
Objection, still speculation.
My question is there any reason she can think of?
Same objection.
Same objection.
Sustained.
Ma'am, you started to treat with Amber about mid-August, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And by the time you got up to the point of the fall, you were seeing her about 2 times a week, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I understand your testimony from earlier today, you had a lot of confidence in Amber, correct? You think she did a really good job for you.
Yes.
Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
It sounds like you're even amazed by the progress you made. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you fell on October 1, 2009, were you using this cane?
Yes, sir.
This is the cane
That's the one.
with this large base. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You were wearing that AFO that Mr. Servant has shown to the jury. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's designed to hold your foot up into a neutral position so you're not dragging it on the ground. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
So you had it on, right?
Yes, sir.
So we can assume, can we not, ma'am, that you didn't fall over this rug because you were dragging your right foot, did you? Because you had your AFO on.
I did, sir.
Okay. Sign the sheet. Scan 3, ma'am. I'll direct your attention to that. Now, you told Mr. Servant you came in the front door, and about the first thing you did was go over and sign it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And we can agree that that's the sign-in sheet that you signed.
It is.
Your name appears, I think, at line 24,
Yes, sir.
and you signed that correctly, not somebody else. No, I want to where it's at. Okay. You see what it says underneath the line, please sign in?
Yes, sir.
Can you read that to the jury?
Only new patients wait in the reception area. All other patients, please wait in the gym. Thank you.
Okay? That was on the sign-in sheet the day you signed in, correct?
Yes, sir.
You would have had an opportunity to see that. Isn't that true, ma'am?
It is.
And if that's the sign-in sheet that you typically sign, you would have had an opportunity to see that instruction every time you came in for therapy. Isn't that true?
It is.
Now, you walked in through the double, picture the rubber double. I think that's tab 1, page 1. As I understand, you came through, after you signed in, you came through those double doors into the treatment area. Is that correct?
It is.
Is it your testimony, ma'am, that the door on the right-hand side as you're looking at that picture was closed?
Yes, sir.
Had you ever seen that before?
Most of the time.
So as you're telling this jury, I'm going to be very clear about this.
Okay.
You're telling the jury that most of the time when you came to therapy, that right-hand door was closed.
Yes, sir.
And the left-hand door was open?
Yes, sir.
Did you do anything before you started to walk laps?
No, sir.
Are you sure about that?
I believe I started to walk right away.
In your deposition, did I ask you this question and did you give me this question, okay? I'm trying to understand the mechanics. Did you stop at one point to look over at the bike to see if it was available? Answer, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Question, and it was not? Answer, yes, sir. Question, so you decided to walk the track? Yes, sir. Is that accurately conveying sort of the timeline of things?
Yes, sir. I already said that I walked around to the bike. The bike wasn't available.
Okay.
So I went ahead and walked my lap.
Okay, forgive me if I misunderstood. So you start to walk laps, you're walking in a counterclockwise fashion, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, we heard Amber Kimber testify that she was still at lunch when you arrived. Did you hear that yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true, ma'am, that when you signed in for your appointment, nobody told you that Amber was on lunch at that time, did they?
No, sir.
They didn't tell you she was not available, did they?
No.
You didn't ask anybody to go get Amber, did you?
No.
For all you knew, Amber was going to come bounding through those doors in about 10 seconds to start your treatment. Is that true?
Sure.
And yet you immediately went on the track and started walking laps without waiting to see if she was around. Is that true?
That's what she had told me to do.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I believe I heard you say during the course of the direct examination that when you got to therapy later in the period of therapy, you usually got there would walk laps or use the bike. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That was something you did on one occasion?
What do you mean?
When you got to therapy, would you go walk laps on the track or use the bike more than one time?
Yes, sir.
Without being told?
Yes, sir. I went to the bike most often, and then we would do our laps.
Is it your testimony also that Amber Kimbrough told you in the last visit you had before you fell, next time you come in, go out there and run laps?
What she said was, when you get here, go ahead and do your laps, or if the bike's available. The bike was a hot commodity. Everybody rode the bike, so it was difficult to get bike time in. And so that was the directive, was if the bike's available, go ahead and ride the bike, otherwise do your laps.
Mrs. Harris, if it was already your custom to walk laps or ride the bike for several times beforehand, why would I ever have to tell you that during the last visit?
She told me every time, or several times. I'm not going to say every time, several times.
You already knew to do that, didn't you? If we accept your testimony on this point, you already knew to go out and walk laps or ride the bike. Isn't that true?
I don't understand what you're asking.
I'll withdraw the question. You were using the cane in your left hand at
Yes,
the time you fell. Is that correct?
yes,
And as I understand your testimony, you were watching. Well, let me ask you this: were you watching when you were walking?
always,
Were you watching with each step where you were going?
yes,
You did that as a matter of course because of the injury you had?
yes,
You
sir.
do that as a matter of course because of your fear of the ruts?
Because of all of your surroundings. I believe I said before, there were lots of things that you had to encounter. My foot would kick my other foot. My foot had to be straightened. I had to make for sure that I was walking in the correct way. There were all kinds of things that could potentially go wrong. So you prepare for those. You make for sure that your shoulders are down, you're walking properly. So there's a lot of different things that you're concentrating on when you're walking and you have issues with and using the device.
In fact, you just told the jury you were still having problems with your foot kicking your other foot. Isn't that true?
Yes,
You were hobbling still at this point because of your drop foot, weren't you?
hobbling, I'm sorry, I had a strange gait. So when I hadn't quite accomplished, I wasn't quite accomplished at the point that I would take a step and move my cane at the same time. So I would move my cane and then move my foot. So it became kind of a sideways hobble because normally a gait would move the cane and the foot at the same time. However, I hadn't quite gotten there yet, and I would move my cane and then I would move my foot. So it became kind of the hand, the foot.
Well, in point of fact, ma'am, when I took your deposition, did you previously describe this gait on the day of the accident as hobbling?
If I said hobbling, that's what I meant. I would put a cane down, a foot down. So I did do the shoulders would go, and if I said hobbling, I guess that's what I meant.
Well, let me read you your testimony, and you tell me if this accurately describes what was going on.
Okay.
This is at page 135, beginning of line 1. Question. Well, help me understand, Mrs. Harris. What was the difficulty? Was it getting your foot lifted up over it? Answer. Some of it was that because the right leg does drag somewhat. So I hobble. So I'm using the cane and hobbling, keeping my balance, making for sure that, my cane is put in the right direction, my foot is going the right way. And there's a lot to negotiate when there's a rug. It's difficult to negotiate when there's any rug located with a walker or a cane, I know they have to be there in some cases, but it's difficult. Is that what your testimony was?
Sure.
Does that accurately describe how you were ambulating the lap that you fell?
Yes.
Now, ma'am, I want to be very careful about this point. Is it your testimony that the corner of the rug was already flipped up when you put your cane down?
The corner of the rug was flipped, and when I did not ever say flipped up, I said flipped. I believe it was flipped under, and I caught my rug I caught my cane right on the edge of the rug. I don't remember exactly how the rug was flipped.
So you're not saying it was flipped up?
I can't really recall exactly how the rug was flipped. I know my cane caught in part of the rug that was up. And when I put my cane down, the moment I put my cane down, I saw that my cane, the rug was under my cane. And so there's so many things to negotiate. I put my cane down, the rug was flipped, and I fell.
So ma'am, are you now telling the jury you don't know exactly what the defect in the rug was? I'll move to strike that.
Sustained.
Is that your testimony, ma'am?
I'm telling you that the rug did have a defect. It was flipped. I can tell you that I don't know the direction it was flipped.
Hold on.
I said it was flipped up, but after looking at the rug, I believe it was flipped under, but I'm not exactly sure, so I can't say 100%.
On July 8, 2013, did I ask you these questions and did you give me these answers? This is at page 136.8. Question, now, you take another left, and that's sort of like your homeward leg to where you started, isn't it? Answer, first lap down. Question, did you fall on the first lap? Answer, yes, sir. Question, tell me what happened. Answer, okay. Coming towards the door, I was looking to make the corner. I put my cane down just as I always did, and when I put my cane down, the corner of the rug was flipped. And it caught the corner of the rug, and my cane went this way, and I went this way, and I fell towards the door, my head going towards the door. Did you fall forward? Answer, I fell to the side. Is that your answer to those questions?
Yes, it is.
Did I ask you these questions on the same deposition? This is page 138. Question. I'm not asking what you tried to do. I'm trying to figure out if you saw the rug before you fell. So you're telling me when you put your cane down, at that point you saw the rug with the corner flipped up. Do I understand this correctly? Answer, I'm moving forward, but almost with every step you watch where your cane goes. So you're looking forward, concentrating on the leg. When I put my cane down to make the first step is when I saw the corner of the rug was flipped, and my cane caught it, and I fell. Did I ask you those questions, and did you give me those answers?
Yes, sir.
And you never made any explanation at that point, did you, ma'am, about the rug being folded under? Did you?
I don't know which way the rug was flipped. I just said the rug was flipped. I saw it. The instant I put my cane down, I noticed that the rug was flipped, and my cane went right into there, and that's how I fell.
We can agree, can we not, ma'am, that whatever was wrong with this rug, it's your testimony it was already there by the time you got to the rug. Is that right?
The rug was already there?
The defect with the rug was already there. The flipped corner was already there.
I can't tell you that because I only know what I saw the moment my cane went down. I didn't see the rug before, or the flip, before I got to it.
So, this is the rug that you had complained about for weeks, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is the rug that you thought was a hazard to your safety, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is a rug that you were afraid you might fall over, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had a habit of walking carefully and watching your steps because of your condition, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you never looked ahead at the rug to see if there was anything wrong with it until you tripped. Is that what you're telling the jury, ma'am?
I'm just saying that I did not see the flip before I got to the rug and my cane got into it. I saw the rug was there, but I didn't see the flip. There's a lot of things you negotiate when you're walking, and there was a lot that I negotiated when I was walking. So no, I cannot say that I saw the flip, how it was flipped, before I got to it. I can say that I know that the rug was there, and that's all I know. I don't know when I saw it flipped. I know that when my cane set down, I saw it flipped and my cane caught. That's all I know.
Ma'am, so the truth of the matter is you don't really know what, if anything, was wrong with that rug.
I know that my cane caught on the corner of the rug, and I saw that it was flipped as soon as my cane went down on the rug, and that's all I know.
Can we agree that the corner of the rug that you claim you caught your cane on was the corner closest to your left cane?
Yes, sir.
So as you're walking towards the rug, it would be this way relative to you, is that correct?
When I was walking toward it, yes, sir.
And you have the cane in your left hand.
Yes, sir.
And so the corner that you contend was flipped would have been this corner, is that
Yes,
correct?
sir.
But you're telling us now you don't know whether it was flipped up or it was flipped under. Is that a testimony?
That's been my testimony all along. I just know that when I put my cane down, it was flipped, and my cane caught in it.
We can agree that you were not looking far enough ahead as you walked to be able to see that beforehand. Is that correct?
I cannot agree to that.
You cannot agree to it. If you'd seen it beforehand, before the instant you put your cane down, would you have avoided it?
I mean, I believe that the answer to that is obviously. However, I can say that when you're walking with the gait that I had, with the problems that I had, you concentrate on so many things. And when I saw my cane go down, I saw the corner of the rug flipped, and my cane caught in it, and I fell.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm going to ask Mr. Vandenberg to join me here at the rug for a moment. Sure. And I'm going to ask him to get on the floor for a second, because if I get down there, you won't get me up before the trial. I'm going to ask Mr. Vandenberg to fold the left-hand corner of the rug back as far as he can to the point where it will stay.
Okay.
Could you do that, please? Is that what you saw when you put your cane down on the floor?
No, sir.
You want them to try and flip it under, like you said, to it?
You can do whatever you want. Read your back. We can agree, can we not, ma'am? You did not get your right leg caught on the rug, did you?
We can agree.
You didn't catch your right leg.
No,
right?
sir, I did not.
Okay. And you fell to the right side, didn't you?
I did.
You fell onto your right hip, correct?
Yes, sir.
You did not fall face forward.
No, I did not.
And you don't know how long the corner of the rug was flipped, whether it was up or under. You don't know how long that was in that condition before you fell. Isn't that true, ma'am?
That is true.
You don't know how it got in that condition, do you?
No, sir.
You don't know if anybody at the clinic was aware that the rug was in that condition before you fell. Is that true?
It's true.
Do you think you would have seen that when you walked through the door and entered the gymnasium?
I guess I could have seen it, but I didn't.
Okay. So we can agree that when you passed over the rug the first time, there was not an obvious defect or problem that you saw and were aware of. Is that correct?
I did not see it.
Why didn't we have work with you for this therapy session?
Like I said before, she came to probably 50% of the therapy sessions with me. She came in a lot of them halfway through and would sit and watch and learn exercises to do with me at home. But there were days that she had errands to run or stop at the store. But most often she came in and sat in the last few minutes with me, but she didn't always come with me.
Mrs. Harris, were you upset by the fact that Sashi Brownbach was planning on weaning you from therapy?
Yes,
Why is that?
because I wasn't completely at my goal, and I thought it was premature.
So you didn't agree with that assessment, is that correct?
Correct.
Did you have a Facebook account in 2009?
Yes.
Did you on occasion send Facebook messages to Tracy Gilman?
Yes.
Did you send her a Facebook message on September 19, 2009?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection to see the text of the message?
Sure.
If I may approach her.
Yes.
And want me to direct your attention to the bottom of that page. Do you see that?
Yes.
You see a Facebook message dated September 19, 2009.
I do.
Could you take a moment and read that, please?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection as to your Facebook message to Tracy Gilman?
I don't remember that I sent it, but I'm sure that I did. I mean, reading it now, yes, I do remember.
Okay. Would you tell the jury what you said to Tracy in that Facebook message?
Yes. Tracy, I really need to talk to you. Could you call me on Monday anytime? Tina is trying to kick me out of therapy. Call me, please, Veronica.
So you told her Tina was trying to get you out of therapy, is that correct?
Yes.
Why did you think that?
Because I believe, and I don't know this for sure, so I probably should not say it, but I think it was her that wanted the evaluation done. Normally, she would have done the evaluation, but she sent it over to Sashi, and I believe it was her idea to do the evaluation. So that was my opinion. I don't know that for certain.
What you expect Tina to do for you? He asked her to call you, right?
Tracy?
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. Tracy, is that correct? He
Yes.
asked Tracy to call you.
Yes.
And then you said the next breath, Tina's trying to take me out of therapy, correct?
Yeah.
What did you expect Tracy to do for you?
Nothing. Just talk to me.
Okay. Did you send a Facebook message to Tracy on October 6th of 2000?
Yes.
What did you say to Tracy in that Facebook message?
I broke my hip at therapy. Please let me know about home health care. Home health.
Now, Tracy was one of the two people who told you to start going out on the track and walking laps by yourself, correct? By yourself, correct?
Tracy had told me to go to the bike. Not necessarily to walk the track, but when I got to therapy, get on the bike. That was Tracy's direct.
Well, we can agree, can we not, that Tracy was the person that you complained to about the rock
Yes.
all the time,
Sure.
okay? Ma'am, I find it very interesting that when you write Tracy that you broke her hip, you said nothing about the rock. Did you have no compunction about saying, I mean, if it had been me, I would have said, you know what, I fell over that rock I complained to you about for a gazillion times. You didn't say that, though, did you?
I didn't.
Now, after you fell, I believe you testified the first person to come to your side was Tina Doctor, correct?
Yes.
She's one of the therapists, is that right?
Yes, sir.
There wasn't another patient that came to your side, was there?
I don't remember.
And I think you said that when you were walking laps around the track, you saw Sashi Brahmbot in the treatment area. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I believe as I came around the corner, I saw him doing something on the computer in the corner of the room.
Ma'am, I want to read to you what Mr. Brahmbot testified earlier in this trial when asked the question. Okay? And he said, question, sir, are you aware that Ms. Harris was involved in an accident on October 1st of 2009 at St. Mary Medical Center's outpatient rehabilitation facility? Answer, yes, I was aware that she had fallen. Question, okay, How do you know this? Answer, I clearly remember that day because I was seated in the staff room. I was done with my lunch, but I still had 15 minutes to go before, my next patient was to arrive. So I was sitting in the staff room and I heard a scream. So second nature was to, and along with me, I think there were others, 2 or 3 other people who rushed to see what had happened. And when we entered the gym, we saw Karanda on the ground, and she was in a lot of pain, and she was crying. That was his testimony. Okay? I understand that to be, he was in another room in a different part of the facility when you fell. Are you disputing that testimony?
No, sir, I'm not.
So you're...
I recall seeing, or I thought I saw him in the room. I don't know for sure. And when I said that, I said, I think he was in the corner of the room. And I said, I believe that Tina was working with a patient at one of the therapy tables. This was a very, very long time ago, and it's very, very difficult to remember 5 years ago. I'm trying to the best of my knowledge. However, it's very difficult to remember every little detail. I thought I saw him in there, but I could be mistaken. I do know that he did run to my side, so I do know that he was in the gymnasium when I fell, or after I fell.
And so is this like your memory of the folded corner of the rug, that it's something you're not entirely sure about because it was 5 years ago?
No, sir, I do know that the last thing that I saw before I fell was my cane going into the rug, and it was flipped.
After you fell in, you were removed from the facility by ambulance, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't have an opportunity to see what the rug looked like then, did you?
After I fell?
After you fell. You didn't look at the rug, did you?
No, sir. I believe the ambulance came and I was given an IV of morphine, and they took me in the ambulance on a stretcher. So I don't remember much after that.
And we can agree that at the time you fell, there was nobody else with you that can corroborate what was wrong with the rug. Isn't that true?
Walking with me?
There's nobody walking with you who can also say there was a defect in the rug when she tripped. It was folded under, it was flipped up or folded under, whatever.
Yes.
You had Dr. Andrews as your surgeon, is that correct?
Yes.
You had a number of visits with him.
Yes, sir.
These were follow-up visits after the surgery.
Yes, sir.
And when you had follow-up visits with him, would you go to his office?
Yes.
And how were you going to his office? How were you ambulating to get into his office at that time?
With a walker.
You would go through the front door of his office, is that correct?
Yes.
And you'd have to walk over that map at Dr. Andrews' office, is that correct?
I think that was there. There was a door to the outside, right at the top, and then you walk in. I think it used to be a grocery store or something. So there was a door like that, and then you walk in. And then there was a mat, and then there was doors that slid closed, and then you walked into the lobby area. So that was like in between 2 doors, and it wasn't like in his office. It was between the doors going to the outside.
The only injury you sustained as a result of this fall was your hip fracture, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And are you telling the jury now that you're having continuing pain as a result of that hip fracture?
I believe it is continuing pain because it's right at the site where the plate is in my leg. And I didn't have that pain before I fell in that area. I had pain before I fell, but not there. I have pain right at the site of where my scar is, and so that's what it feels, and it feels different than it did before. So Yes, and telling Julie that.
When I took your deposition, did I ask you this question? This is a page one question. To the best of your knowledge, do you have any other injury besides the fracture of the knee, cancer, no other injuries? Did I ask you that? Did you give me that answer?
Yes, I
You
did.
never described continuing pain as a result of your injury. did you?
I'm sorry?
You never described during your deposition.
Well, I object, Your Honor, that's not a fair question. That was the same question we asked in terms of what was your injury? I fractured my hip. That's exactly consistent with what you said.
You know, this isn't worth arguing about. I'll look for other questions. You had no complications as a result of your surgery.
The only complications that I had ongoing were that I didn't go back to a cane, I didn't go back to the point that I was before therapy, and that I had a year of rehabilitation to go through. And I was back in diapers, I was back being cared for, I was back being bathed, I was back somebody cooking for me, I was back doing housework, I was back at square one. And if you're saying ongoing, yes, those were ongoing. I mean, yes, I have recovered and I do my household duties, but I am very limited as to what I can do before I fell. I had a cane in a hand and you can carry things. Now I walk with a walker. It's very difficult to open doors. It's very difficult to do things that you can do when you can function with a walker, or with a cane, I'm sorry, than when you can with a walker.
You didn't have any post-operative infection, did you?
I'm sorry?
You didn't have any kind of post-operative infection, did you?
No.
And you didn't have a physician tell you that the fracture site did not heal, did you?
As far as I know, there were some complications with the healing. I do remember, and I think from even yesterday's deposition with the doctor, he was concerned with the healing of the site. At one or two visits, I believe I had visits every month for some time. And I remember that in the first couple of visits that he wasn't real happy with the healing. I didn't have infection, but the healing process wasn't continuing as he had hoped. But ongoing, I believe that he was, I believe, generally more okay with the healing of the bone.
Nobody has recommended that you have any further surgical procedures ever.
No, sir.
And you're not under a doctor's care at this time as a result of this fracture, is that correct?
No, sir.
No physician has told you that you should only use a walker to handle it now.
No,
That's a choice that you've made, is that correct?
yes.
It's a choice you've made because
No doctor has told me to walk with a cane either. However, I feel safer with the walker.
it's a choice you've made because you're afraid of falling.
Yes, sir.
You're not pursuing any kind of therapy now, is that correct?
That's good.
Now, before this accident, you had a number of falls at home during the period of time that you were taking therapy for the front.
Yes, sir.
You would fall sometimes in therapy because of weakness in your leg, isn't that true?
I did fall several times.
But you never fell over a rug at therapy, did you, until October 1, 2001? That's your testimony.
Yes, sir. I never fell over.
When you moved to Mississippi, did you have some falls there?
Yes.
In fact, you had 3 falls there, is that true?
I believe I've fallen 3 times, maybe 3 or 4, I don't know.
You had a fall in 2011 where you lost your balance and fell backwards over a couple of stairs. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
That didn't have anything to do with catching your walker in a rough day.
I was closing my back door and I had 2 steps and I went to put my walker down and I just fell off the bottom step, tripped and fell off that bottom step.
And you had another fall where you slipped and fell in the kitchen. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that I told you I spilled a glass of water. I know that I spilled a glass of water. I was cleaning it up and I set my walker to the side to bend down and clean the water up and I slipped and fell into the water.
I think you told me in your deposition you had another fall, but you couldn't remember what the circumstances are. Is that correct?
I believe I told you that. However, my mom reminded me what the circumstances were.
And what were the circumstances?
I was in my wheelchair and I was emulating my wheelchair because I live only a block away from the school that I teach at. So I, instead of walking the distance, I rode my wheelchair and my wheelchair went off the curb and I fell out of my wheelchair.
When did your mother remind you of this?
After my deposition, I told my mom, I can't remember, I was talking to her and told her, I know I've fallen several times, but when I was telling him, I couldn't remember, and she reminded me.
Mrs. Harris, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You want to break for lunch before you do redirect?
I don't have any questions.
You don't? Okay. Well, let's have the jury, see the jury questions.